Hey folks, today we're going to learn how to make a creative photography portfolio. There will be 3 parts to this tutorial. Let me take you through each section. In section 1, we'll learn how to design this camera shutter infographic and animation from scratch in PowerPoint. Then, in section 2, we'll learn how to create this snapshot effect. And finally, in section 3, we'll create a landing page using PowerPoint's zoom feature. We'll also learn how to make these creative portfolio slides that show off your photography skills in style. Use the time codes below to skip between sections, and of course, you'll find the download link for the practice file in the description. So without further ado, let's get started with section 1. Let's start section 1 by creating the shutter infographic. As you can see, all these shapes are editable and made in PowerPoint. So let's open a new slide. And first of all, let's choose a 8-sided octagon. Let's draw it out and place it in the center of our slide. Let's keep the shape outline but remove the shape fill. Next, let's draw a circle around our octagon and send it to back. Again, let's keep the shape outline and remove the shape fill. Next, let's go to our rectangles and draw a line. Let's match this line with the top of our octagon. Let's remove the shape outline. Now I'll just zoom in. Match the line with the end point of the octagon. So once you've done that, let's copy this and bring it to the bottom as well. Similarly, let's make lines for all sides of the octagon. Make sure it doesn't overlap the line that we've created earlier. You can use your arrow keys to make fine adjustments. And if you've got the angle right, all you need to do is copy, paste, and bring it over the other side. Then for the other lines, simply paste the diagonal line again and rotate it. And finally, we'll do the vertical lines. Once we're done placing our lines, we'll see the shapes that we need starting to emerge. So, next up, let's do a Ctrl A and select everything that we've created. Let's go over to Shape Format, go to Merge Shapes, and click on Fragment. Now, all we need to do is delete all the unnecessary objects that have been fragmented, leaving only the shapes behind. So I'll quickly speed this part up and delete all the unnecessary parts. And there we go. As soon as we're done deleting all the superfluous bits, our shapes are now visible and they look like the aperture of our camera. All that's left is adding the colors. So let's bring the colors over. And I'll just make the slide background a bit darker so the colors pop out. Let's quickly fill each shape using the eyedropper. Let's select all our shapes and remove the outline. And finally, we can add a slight shadow. So let's go into shadow options. Give it a drop down shadow. Increase the size a bit. And also increase the blur. And there we go. So as you saw, creating this infographic shape is quite easy. Next, let's animate it and add a little camera click effect. In order to do that, I'll duplicate the slide that we've just created. I'll select all the shapes. You can delete the colors if you want. Do a Ctrl A, select all the shapes and give them a white fill, and then Ctrl G to group them. Next, let's go into our animations. Let's go into more entrance effects and give it a spinner effect. Let's open our animation pane and increase the duration so it slowly spins in like this. Then let's go back up and select our colored aperture. We can group it, copy it and bring it over to overlap the white diagram. Next, we'll add an appear animation to the colored shape, and we'll add animation, go to emphasis and give it a pulse as well. Let's right click and go to effect options in the pulse, and under sound let's scroll down and find camera.wave. Let's play it once. And there we have a camera clicking effect. Let's add a box to the background. Remove the shape outline. Let's go to format shape and do a picture fill. Let's send it to back. And we add some text as well. Let's arrange our text within the shape. Resize it to fit properly. And we can group both the text boxes. Depending on the type of image you want to use, you can also change the color of the image so it stands out a bit. So you can choose any of these accents, and depending on that you can change the color of your font as well. So for now I'll just darken this image so the colored infographic stands out well. Let's go back to animations. Now as soon as the click happens, we want the photograph to appear as well. So in animations I'm going to give it a fade, but I'm going to make the fade faster, so 0.25. And finally I'm going to make the text fly in. Let's say it flies in from top, and I'm going to decrease the duration as well. Let's play everything and check it out. Now that looked pretty good, but the photograph is not appearing along with the click. That's because all our animations right now are set on click. So I'll expand the animation pane. We want the colored diagram to appear after the white one. We want the click emphasis to happen with the colored appearance. We want the rectangle to appear with, and we want to the text to fly in with previous as well. Now let's check it out in full screen. And that looks much better. Next, let's jump into section 2, where we'll create this snapshot effect. So this is pretty easy to do. Let's go over to a new slide. I'll decrease the animation pane a bit. Let's change our slide background to a dark color again. And first, let's design the viewfinder UI. So in order to create the UI, let's go over to our shapes and find a shape called the half frame. Let's draw it out on the screen. We'll use the yellow nodes to make it much thinner. Also, let's make it white and let's remove the shape outline. Then let's make it smaller and let's make the top half longer. So it should look something like this. Place it wherever you want the UI frame to appear and copy paste it. Go over to rotate and do a flip horizontal. Press Shift and drag it over to the right, and PowerPoint should automatically give you the guides on how to place it equally. Then we can select both these shapes, copy paste them, and this time let's flip them vertically and let's drag them down. So that's our frame ready. Now let's create the center part of the viewfinder. Let's make another copy of this outside frame. This time let's ensure the sides are equidistant. We can also do that from the shape format. So let's enter 5 centimeters for both sides. And again, like previously, let's make copies of it and flip it. Let's group the entire thing and make it a little smaller. We can increase the distance between the frames a little more, I think. There we go. That looks alright. Let's group it back up and make sure it's aligned to center and middle of the slide. Then let's create a circle within this. Let's give it a white outline and remove the fill. And we'll create yet another circle and we'll invert it. This time no outline and a white fill. Let's make it really small and take it right to the center. Let's select everything and group it once again. So that's our viewfinder UI almost ready. Let's go over to Insert. Let's add an icon for a battery. So any icon that suits you, choose that and insert it. Go over to Graphics Fill and make it white. Let's place it at the bottom of the viewfinder. And on the other side, we'll add a little recording icon. So for that, all we need to do is add some text. Let's copy this white dot over and fill it with a red color. I'll make the dot smaller and align it with the text. Let's group these two up again. Let's drag them over. Let's select the icons we've created, go over to Align, and just align them with each other so they look visually balanced. And that is our viewfinder ready. To create the snapshot effect, let's select our central UI bit, go to Animations, and let's add the same emphasis pulse that we used in the previous slide. Let's go to Options, Effect Options. Again, let's add the sound of the camera. Let's set it to play after previous and let's decrease the duration. So it goes like that. And finally, let's insert a rectangle for our background. Let's remove the shape outline. Let's go to Format Shape, do a picture fill, and send it to back. I'll just make this image a little darker. Now, in order for the flash effect to come, we'll go over to Transitions and we'll choose the Flash transition. Let's duplicate this slide and simply go and change the image in the background. We'll adjust the new image to make it a little darker as well. We'll duplicate it once again and again fill a different picture inside it. So now we have our slides ready with the flash effect. Let's take a look and see how it works. So the flash lasts a very long time. Let's go back to our transitions and decrease the duration of the transition to about 0.25 again. Let's take a look. And that looks much better. Now let's move on to section 3, which is a zoom-based landing page. But before we can create the landing page, we need to create the slides that we'll be using to enable the zoom feature. So let's check out one of the slides. So as you saw, this is a fairly dynamic slide with many moving elements. Let's see how we make this. So let's pop into a new slide. The first thing we'll do is paste a high-res image. And we'll extend the image to match the borders on the left and the right of the slide. The next thing we'll do is go into Animations. Let's open up our animation pane and give it the Grow Shrink Emphasis effect. Of course, this is moving too fast for us. So let's go into Effect Options. In Timing, let's change this to about 8 seconds. Let's go back in. Under Effect, let's give it a smooth start, a smooth end. And in Size, let's change it to about 120 so the image doesn't pixelate when it's growing. Let's take a look at it now. And it's working really nicely. We'll set the animation to start after previous. And next, we'll create a rectangle that covers the slide. You can enable your guides if you want help with placing the rectangle exactly. Let's remove the shape outline and let's go into Format Shape. Let's give this rectangle a gradient fill. In Type, let's change it to Radial, and in Direction, let's choose From Center. Let's move all our color stops about equidistant from each other, and let's change all the color stops to black. Then let's change the transparency of the color stops so the inside color is the most transparent and the outside color remains the darkest. So it should look something like this. Next, let's go back to our animations and give this box a fade animation. In our animation pane, we'll set it to start with previous and we'll increase its duration to, let's say, about 7 seconds. So as the picture is growing, the box is fading in. Let's take a look. The picture will grow slowly darker as the box appears. This creates a vignette effect around our image. Having created the vignette, let's bring in some text. So I'll just copy the text from above and bring it onto our new slide. I'll remove all the animations that were there previously. Let's add the animations from scratch. So select both your text boxes and initially let's give it a fly-in animation from the left. So it flies in like that. Let's increase its duration to about 1 second and let's set it to start with previous. Keeping both the boxes selected, let's add animation and add a motion path and set it to go right. Then let's change the endpoints of our motion path. Having done that, let's set the animations to start with previous, but we'll give it a delay. So the motion path starts after the fly-in effect. And we'll also increase the duration to the same amount of time as we've given to the rectangle, or we can even increase it by a little bit. So let's take a look at how that works. It flies in and then it starts moving slowly as the image gets darker. Another side effect of the vignette is the text becomes more readable. And finally, let's add some decorative elements. Let's create a rectangle across the slide. Let's go to Format Shape, and this time let's do a pattern fill. Choose any pattern and color that works with the colors that you'll be using in your presentation. So I'll just use pink and black because that's what I initially used. Let's remove the shape outline and make it a little thinner. Let's make another copy of this box and place it below the text. Let's select both our boxes and give them the wipe animation. The top box will give wipe from left and the bottom box will give a wipe from right. Let's go back to our animation pane. Let's select both animations to start with previous and again increase their duration. Let's give them the same duration that we gave the text. Now let's take a look at it in full screen. And that looks really nice. And the good thing about it is, once you've created this slide, all you need to do is duplicate it, click on your image, right-click, change picture, and select a different picture. It will automatically appear and your animations will remain intact. Then we can just resize the image to fit the sides of the slide and play it. Another thing we need to do is change the heading of each image. So this one becomes wedding. So similarly, I'll create all 6 images that we'll be using for our Zoom landing page. So I've created our 6 images or slides that we'll be showcasing on the landing page. I'll quickly take you through each slide once. Let's make sure they all work. And all 6 slides are looking fairly good. Let's move on to the zoom effect. So in order to create the zoom effect, first I'll quickly delete the original images that we have, the unnecessary slides. And just above our portfolio slides, let's add a new slide. And let's paste in an image and our header. Then let's head over to the Insert tab and find the Zoom option. Over there, let's go into Slide Zoom and select the slides we'll want to add to the landing page. So we'll add these 6 slides. Once the slides have been inserted, let's arrange them equally in 2 columns. We can use the Align tools to properly move them. And we'll also make sure that there's no shape outline attached to the slides. Next, in the Zoom tab, let's make sure that the Return to Zoom option is selected. You can't do that with all the tabs, all the slides selected, so you have to choose one at a time and add the Return to Zoom option. So let's see if that worked. And once the slide has stopped running, we want it to go back to our landing page. And that's perfect. And that's it, folks. Those were my tips on how you can design a creative photography portfolio. So go ahead, download the practice file, and even experiment with adding new animations and effects to this. I'd love to see what you come up with. I hope you find this content helpful. Hit the like and subscribe buttons to show your love. Once again, thank you for watching, and remember to keep on creating.